Hello, this video is going to be about the planetary transits for the month of August. This past month of July, the main events we saw were a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius in Purva Ashada Nakshatra. Mercury had stationed direct in its ruling sign of Gemini, and the Sun entered Cancer for Karka Sankranti. This month of August will be more action-oriented, and we will be seeing an overall increase of energy as we have fiery planets moving into fiery signs. A lot of the planets are stronger this month as they occupy their own sign of rulerships. The planets in dignity for August are the Sun in Leo, Mars in Aries, Jupiter in Sagittarius, and Saturn in Capricorn. Mercury moves from Cancer to Leo, and Venus transits through Gemini. Okay, so that's the overall energy for the month of August. I want to go ahead and show some of the charts now. Okay, so the first chart I wanted to look at was Mercury entering Cancer on August 1st, and it will be at 3:03 p.m. And I am filming this in Los Angeles, so I'm using the Pacific time zone. So here we have Mercury joining the Sun in Karka Rashi. And at this part of the sky, with Mercury going into Cancer, the emotions are a little unstable here for this very analytical planet. So Mercury doesn't enjoy being in the moon sign, but luckily this is a quick transit as Mercury rushes through this sign in just 16 days. So it's a very fast moving Mercury. On the 16th and the 17th, Mercury will be crossing the Gandanta zone, and this is the last degree of the water signs to the first degree of the fire signs. The Gandanta points are where we feel like we have less control over the events that happen. So Mercury is a bit confused, especially on these days, especially when it's so close to the Sun, and it will be feeling a bit burned out. The mental power and clarity won't be as sharp through this transit through Cancer, especially on the 16th and 17th. So it's important not to make any important decisions those days, and just be mindful of your thoughts, words, and speech also. So mental exhaustion is possible due to overthinking, so don't feed a restless mind. Okay, so there will be, thoughts that are restless. It just basically avoid facts, avoid news, things like that. Take a mental break and relax the mind. Okay, so Mercury's transit through Cancer actually opposes Saturn in Capricorn, and this is exactly opposite at 3 degrees 29 minutes on the 3rd. So a couple days later, that's directly following the full moon. Okay, so this is the full moon chart that I wanted to take a look at. It's full moon in Capricorn on August 3rd at 8:58 a.m., again, Pacific time. We have the Capricorn full moon at 17 degrees 37 minutes in Shravana Nakshatra, and it's opposite here, the Sun and Mercury here in Cancer. So we have the full moon. The moon is at 17 degrees 37 minutes. The Sun is at 17 degrees 37 minutes. And we have this 3 degrees of Cancer and 3 degrees of Capricorn opposition with Mercury and Saturn, which further stresses out Mercury as well with Saturn's aspect here. So this is going to be a bit of a sobering full moon. The sober element would definitely be the reality checks of Saturn, and that's just the influencing energy. It kind of gets swept up with this full moon. So anyway, Shravana is known as the star of listening, and whatever part of the zodiac the full moon lands in the month shows the highlighted area of emphasis that will be culminated. So these themes will be brought forth to their fullest expression. So Shravana themes will be illuminated. Shravana has to do with communication of all kinds. And listening is really the most important aspect of communication, because it is the ability to accurately receive and interpret messages. Without active listening skills, there would be no effective communication to support positive human interactions and relationships. So this is very important, and these will be the themes. So it is interesting that listening and communication is really a highlighted theme for this month when we see this planet of communication, Mercury, under such duress. So it seems as though it's better to listen than to speak this month. The next chart I wanted to take a look at was Mars's ingress into Aries. This happens on the 16th of August at 5:56 a.m. Again, Pacific time. I'm using that for this chart. So just like Mercury does in August, Mars too crosses over a Gandanta zone, and it's from the 13th through the 19th. So again, the Gandanta point shows that greater forces are really at play. So destined and fated events occur at these points where fire meets water. In this case, the fated events that are associated with everything is represented by Mars. So everything to do with Mars is going to be that theme. So Mars will go retrograde early September. So he backs over this area again in October and once again in December after moving direct. With this transit, Mars leaves the last degree of Revati Nakshatra and enters into Ashwini Nakshatra. Ashwini is ruled by Ketu, which is very fiery in nature, and Mars is, of course, is also fiery. So there's a lot of heat and passion, motivation, and action energy that's generated by this transit. The other fiery planet besides Mars and Ketu is the Sun, which is also greatly empowered this month. So speaking of the Sun, I want to pull up the next chart. Okay, so just a couple hours after Mars enters Aries on the 16th, here at 0 degrees, 0 minutes, the Sun then enters Leo at 6:41 a.m. And here it's at 0 degrees, 0 minutes. So of course, this is the third planet I will mention crossing a Gandanta point from Cancer then to Leo, between a water sign and a fire sign. The Sun moving into Leo, though, is very strong and supportive because it's in its own sign for the next 30 days. And the Sun in Leo is creative and self-expressive. We can draw from the raw energy supply and use the pure power of our soul's will to create and regenerate. So the Sun is very strong here in its ruling sign. And it's a trine aspect between, the fire signs here. So they kind of have this exchange of energy anyway. It's a free-flowing energy that's very supportive, and it's dynamic. Okay, so still yet on the 16th, we then have another planet, Mercury, entering Leo, where it's combust the Sun. So this is August 16th at 7:58 p.m. Again, Pacific time. Mercury is still moving very fast, though, and it's stimulated by the heat of the fiery Sun in Leo. And so the strength of the Sun here is also very intense. There's a lot of ideas that are being generated with this Mercury that will be put into action, and we can see more movement and activity that begins to pick up speed as it's no longer then receiving the aspect of Saturn, with Mercury being in Cancer then. So now it will be receiving the aspect of Jupiter, which has a very expansive influence on the mind. So by its, again, this trinal aspect here. On August 18th at 7:41 p.m., there's a new moon here in Leo at 2 degrees 28 minutes in Magha Nakshatra. Magha is the star of the ancestors. It denotes tradition, lineage, and here we see a new cycle begin in regards to themes of power, leadership, and personal responsibility. The seeds are planted then this month for confidently expressing your personal power and reconnecting with vitality in the truest sense. And then I wanted to look at this last chart quickly here. On August 31st, Venus enters Cancer at 1:33 p.m. Pacific time. The planet of relationships enters into the watery, feeling-oriented sign of Cancer, which heightens sensitivity and vulnerability. Venus also rules our money and resources, so moving into the sign, financial security matters are a focus. So those are the charts that I wanted to take a look at for the month of August. And I just wanted to say, as you and I well know, this has been a very heavy year. And because of the world events, many people are in a depressed mindset. This is due to different astronomical events happening throughout the year. But this month, I would really attribute the unsettled mindset of the collective consciousness to the transit of Mercury through Cancer receiving the aspect of Saturn. In addition, Mercury is combust, which stresses out the planet. So the thoughts are too much. The thoughts are definitely going more towards the negative side. And when we are in depression, we have an imbalance of Saturn. Saturn retrograde continues here in Capricorn to delay our movements and our movements forward. So when we are in depression, we have an imbalance of Saturn. When we are hopeless, there is an imbalance of Jupiter. Jupiter retrogrades still here in Sagittarius. And this is where we really need to see the bigger picture. So we need perspective. We aren't stuck. We aren't victims of circumstance. It really takes effort on our parts to see that we are probably being saved from larger consequences that we're not really able to see the full picture of. So, for example, environmental and ecological improvements that will continue to sustain life on Earth by forcing human industry to take a giant step back for the Earth to restore and not cross the threshold of irreparable damage to the Earth that would no longer be able to sustain human life, for example, would be a positive influence of the current astronomical influences that are depressing us. When we want to take a look at it in the larger picture, this is probably a good thing, right? So we may be delayed, we may be feeling stuck, but we're not really. And it's really all a matter of time before Saturn ends up moving forward. So, as well as Jupiter. So Jupiter remains retrograde until September 12th, and Saturn remains retrograde until September 28th. These planetary energies are tricky because they are Vakri, and they don't produce the positive effects of the planet, but they really do actually push us to engage with them in a way where we put more effort into extracting the more positive qualities available that they do represent. These qualities being discipline and patience with Saturn, and faith and trust with Jupiter. I think for everyone this month, the overall theme of August will be to focus on keeping a balanced and positive mindset, not to get swept up too much in emotions, and really not to overthink things. Energy will be restored, confidence will be restored, creative, regenerative energy will definitely be restored, and there will be a burst of energy and positivity that does come through with the second half of the month. So everybody have a great month. If you like this video, leave a like. If you like my content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.